Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Can Lit, a podcast that showcases Canadian authors. I'm your host, Maria Zupardi, an avid Can Lit reader, and keep on listening to find your next favorite book today. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, today I'm so excited because I put together my fall TBR. And then I kind of like looked, like stood back and looked at it. And I thought, wow, what an idiot, Maria. You did not put any Canadian authors on your fall TBR except for one. Such a fail. So I figured I would talk about 6 book recommendations for you that you can add to your fall TBR right now, and also talk about a couple books that are on my TBR, and then book recommendations from other people that I got from Instagram. All right, and on that note, let me get into these recommendations for you. So, the first book, it's not actually, I feel like this would be more of an author recommendation. I feel like this will be more of an author recommendation, but Jennifer Hillier is such a great psychological thriller suspense writer. The book I have here in front of me is Things We Do in the Dark, which I feel like that I think I meant to take Little Secrets, but I don't actually remember if I read it or not. Such a fail. So I'm like, I definitely read this one, but I don't know about Little Secrets. I feel like I did. But like her writing is just so it just draws you in right from the first page. And that's what I really like about Jennifer Hillier. I know her earlier books, people love them. So like if you want to start reading her or if you haven't read her yet, I do suggest based off of what I hear that her earlier books are like they really knock it out of the park. Like there's always mixed reviews for like later books in life, which is fine. So yeah, definitely start with her first book probably. This one, Things We Do in the Dark, it's a very creepy cover. It's blue, it's got the yellow. I think this is more of a gold color vibe for it, which I think works really well. And this is about Paris Peralta, who was arrested, covered in blood, holding a razor. Her celebrity husband was dead in the bathroom, and she knows she'll be charged with murder. But that's not what worries her the most because all of this media attention is basically going to catch the attention of other people from her past that she doesn't want anything to do with, rightfully so when you read this book. Definitely some trigger warnings for this, so if you do pick it up, beware. But I do think that was it was a good suspense thriller that turned into something more of like a character study. But I think it's still great for fall or any of her other books. um, Moving on, I have, of course, you can't put a Canadian fall recommendation list together without recommending a Silvia Moreno-Garcia book. So, what I have here is Mexican Gothic. Um, Terrified of Mushrooms after this book. If you've read it, you know. If you haven't read it, you will know soon because you should read it. I do get that this book won't be for everyone. I think it's like the supernatural twist might not have been explored as deeply as I would have liked, but I still think it's a really great introduction to her, like to her books, to her writing style, to her really unique stories. And Mexican Gothic is basically about this woman who goes to this really distant castle house type of thing in the Mexican countryside because her cousin is newlywed and she basically sent her a letter asking her for help. So the main character is Noemi, and she's kind of like a glamorous, like not your average, I think, Mexican woman. I like like she's different, she's smart, she's an amateur sleuth. She's got all these things going for her and she's super cool. So she's kind of like goes into her cousin's house and like she starts to notice a lot of weird things. You can kind of call this a haunted house story, if you will, except again, like it's more of a supernatural spirit ghost type of thing. Very good. Like it was so gripping. I mean, I really loved it. I also again see how not how it's not for everybody, but still recommend. If you're looking for something very atmospheric, this is the book for you, I promise. I'm sure her other books are just as atmospheric and just as deeply immersive. So yeah, that was again Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. All right, next up, I have a book you might have read, but this is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. I believe this was also on Canada Reads, maybe, maybe not. It might have been on like other Ontario focused awards. But yeah, if you have not read it, it is definitely one to read, I promise you. Actually, the second book is coming out now. Has it come out? Oh my god, I meant to pre-order it months ago and I haven't. So, stupid Maria. I definitely really do need to buy it because, like, this writing was so good it was really strong for a debut, and it was with ECW, and now he has moved to Penguin, I believe, for this follow-up for this novel. Um, yeah, which is really interesting. But anyways, that's a publishing thing. So this book is definitely more dystopian. How do we say this? Not sci-fi, but like maybe speculative fiction, horror kind of mixing. It's basically about a virus that is crumbling society. For reference, I read this like right before the panic shopping was happening back in like March of 2020. So it was terrifying for me to read this book. And then like the next day in the news, literally what I read about in this book was happening in the news. And it was just very bizarre. It was a really great reading experience. So it really heightened the experience for me for sure. So this one is basically about the society has basically collapsed. So this small indigenous northern Anishinaabe community basically is goes dark. It's cut off from power. They don't know if it's just their little town or the whole world. Who knows? Because they're cut off from literally everything. So they basically have to kind of save themselves and create their own society. But then outsiders come in, who are, I believe, they were white. Classic. Of course, they were white for sure. So yeah, it's just very, again, like very dark, immersive kind of writing. And yeah, I think especially with his next book coming out, I believe today, I want to say it's October 11th. You should probably definitely pick up Moon of the Crusted Snow first before you read that one because I feel like that is a continuation. But yeah, it's very cool. I know there's snow on the cover. Just ignore the snow. It's great for fall, I promise. And if you're into cult thrillers, I definitely have the book for you. I absolutely loved Blood Atonement by S.M. Friedman. It was kind of like the perfect time for this book because it came out when the whole oh god, what was that show? Oh, that was the show. So basically, Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, which was about that Warren, what's his name? Warren Jeffs, that's his name. So that when that whole documentary and all like everything was kind of coming out about that, this book, Blood Atonement, came out shortly after by S.M. Friedman again, and it's basically about a group of kids who escaped their fundamentalist Mormon compound of Brigham, and like they escaped, they were saved by the cops, everything's all nice and fun, but then they grow up and suddenly the kids that had escaped, they're slowly dying off and they're being staged as like suicides, which they're clearly not if you were like really look into the backstory of these kids. And one of the basically the leader who kind of led all these kids out was named Grace DeRoche, and she now suffers from dissociative identity disorder because of her childhood and like the terrors that she went through. And it was so like this book was so well written, like you kind of get flashbacks from her childhood and then present day. And so basically like she's trying to figure out like, is she actually doing the killing, is it somebody else? Like it is such a mind fuck. And the twist in this book is just phenomenal. Like I really like to compare SM Friedman to what's the Silent Patient author. So it's kind of like that type of like really messed up twist that you don't see coming. So yeah, I definitely recommend Blood Atonement by S.M. Friedman. If you go to dundurn.com, you can use my code ReadingMaria20 and get 20% off this book, all the books, ebooks, whatever format they're available in. So yeah, definitely recommend. Who doesn't want to buy books, especially Canadian books, for 20% off? So yeah, definitely do that because I think S.M. Friedman is such a great writer. I know she has another book, The Day She Died, that's also available on Dunder.com. I didn't read that because I spoiled it for myself stupidly as a new employee of Dunder. And so that was like a disaster. So that's why I did not read it, but I know it's good. I feel like this book is a million times better. It's so fabulous. I love it. I will take it with me everywhere I go. It's so good. Yeah, highly, highly recommend. Next up, I feel like this book I like to recommend Gutter Child by Jael Richardson. Like it's kind of like the right time. It's dark academia. My copy is signed. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Jael Richardson. I feel like I pre-ordered this. Oh yeah, from Another Story. I have the sticker here. And that's why I got it pre-ordered. So thank you for that. I love signed copies. But I feel like if this book was marketed like they never actually said it was YA until like everybody started reading it and it's like, oh, this kind of reads younger than adult. And then you kind of see it on the Forest of Reading, like the Teen Awards or something. So I feel like if I read this now, knowing what I know, like the genre of the book, I probably would definitely enjoy this a million times. I feel like I still gave this 5 stars anyways, because I think the story obviously is timely. Like it's Jael Richardson. If you follow her, like you know what she stands for. And a lot of that is very much in this book, which I love. I really want her to write more YA so I can have more books to read from her, but that's just me. So, Gutter Child is about a young woman who's kind of like she's like they're in this it's kind of like an imagined world. So it's not like really our reality. So it's like an alternate reality, but it's not sci-fi or anything. I think again, this might be more dystopian, but definitely dark academia. So this girl is like kind of she goes into the foster system and there's like a it's kind of like a social experiment where it's like it's so weird. I just need to read this description. So like it's only 100 babies taken from the gutter, so like the whatever the poor side of the world, and raised in the land of opportunity as part of a social experiment led by the mainland government. Obviously, you can see how that bleeds into our society and how that's influenced from our society. But then the main character, Elamina, she is sent to this academy, so there's new rules, new expectations, and she befriends other gutter children who are making their own way through the system in whatever ways they know how. So I'm only reading the description because I don't remember much about this book, but I know I gave it a good rating. And then they kind of like take this girl and make her not the boss, but like in charge of the kids, the her peers in a sense. But it's very much like if they need punishment, that's up to her and I think the other person who's in charge with her. So it's very much like that, and then some of the kids were I think they got not sold, but, like, they were transferred to a different facility or they got kicked out because they couldn't follow the rules, stuff like that. So it's very much, again, like, very very inspired by today's world, and I think going into this book, knowing it's YA, you will definitely love it. If fall is the time where you read for dark academia vibes, Gutter Child by Jael Richardson is definitely a book to pick up. And next up, the last book that I recommend is Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. Not as much horror, I think, as a lot of people expected. I mean, I expected it to be much more horror-y, but it's still, again, I'm here for the vibes, I'm here for the story, and Bad Cree by Jessica Johns definitely delivers on that. This book cover is so beautiful. It's like a metallic-y, kind of shiny look. You just have to see the book in real life, and I promise you'll pick it up. But basically, and this is also a debut, where Mackenzie, who is a Cree millennial, she wakes up and what she dreamed about is basically like she wakes up holding like a pine thing from the forest or something. Like she's bringing back stuff from her dreams and there's obviously like something wrong, something going on. So she goes back home to kind of like, maybe she's with maybe if she's surrounded by family it'll be better, like cuz like anybody would be scared to death if like they wake up and their dream was already so vivid and they're holding like a pine needle or like a branch from their dream. So like she does the right thing. She goes back home and then she kind of there she slowly learns through family, like, family history, stories, and the root and the cause of all of this. So it's very good. The last little bit is definitely very horror based, but like you really have to read the whole book to kind of get to that. So that's why I feel like again, people might expect more horror, just don't because it's all at the ending, but it's really great. And again, atmospheres, vibes, Bad Cree by Jessica Johns delivers on that. All right, I hope I gave a few really good recommendations. I feel like those are a few good books to start you off at because, like, honestly, this is a lot of books. Let me see Instagram super quick. So I asked people what they would recommend as a Canadian fall book that they must read, and I have some. So Tina May Reads on Instagram, she recommends 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis. Paperback.portals, she recommends Sufferance by Thomas King. Reading While My Nails Dry, she recommends, of course, The Handmaid's Tale. And she's slowly making her way through Louise Penny. So, yeah, that's another author that I have not read. But yeah, definitely mystery vibes. If you love mystery, police procedurals, I believe, Louise Penny is for you. Carol.reads.books. She's reading Five Little Indians by Michelle Good, which, damn it, I still need to read it. I am so sorry. uh, a sunny little a Sunny Library, she recommends Everything by Eden Robinson, another author I haven't read, but I know is fabulous. And Dear Pippa, who's not even Canadian. I think she lives in Germany. I think this is the German flag. She says every Mona Awad book, which facts. I mean, definitely also fits into, I believe, the dark, maybe not fully the dark academia vibe, but like I feel like that same kind of feel of a book of like, like dark and not schoolish, but like very similar to Gutter Child, kind of. Maybe. I'm just assuming. Maybe not her new book, maybe Bunny more of that dark academia vibe, but anyways, I've DNF'd it. So yes, Mona Awad, Andre Alexis, Thomas King, Louise Penny, Michelle Good, Eden Robertson. So you can add all of those books that Instagram recommends to your Canlit Fall TBR. All right, and on top of my disgustingly long fall TBR that I already set, I did pull a few books from my shelves or from from my TBR that I think would be great reads for me to read now in fall if I can get to them. We'll see. I do have a week off or 6 days off of work, so we'll see how much I can read. Shout out to me. Good luck. Anyway, so first, I definitely will read because it was on my fall TBR. It was the only Canadian book. It is Everyone Here is Lying by Shari Lapena, I believe. And like everyone's been raving about this book. I have literally not seen one bad review for this. So definitely excited to read it. I'll just read the taglines of all of these books just for like time. Cause like it's Tuesday. You do not want to be sitting down listening to me talk about Canlit for like 3 hours. We'll save that for an Indigo bonus episode. Anyway, so Everyone Here is Lying. The tagline here is Welcome to Stanhope, a safe neighborhood, a place for families. Nothing will prepare you for the truth. So very interesting. And she has great endorsements from like Lisa Jewell, who's not my favorite, but like, whatever. Gilly Macmillan, Ashley O'Drain, Samantha Downing. Oh my gosh, yes. Samantha Downing, I love her. She calls this a perfectly plotted thriller that moves whip fast. The ending will make your heart stop. Without a doubt, my new favorite book by Shari LaPena. Okay, perfect. Liz Nugent, who I'm not a fan of. Steve Kavanaugh, who I don't think I've read. But anyway, she has great endorsements. So yeah, definitely will totally make it to read this book because I've just have heard nothing but good things. The next book I have, I don't know how, like the cover is definitely fall horror spooky season vibes. Queer Little Nightmares, an anthology of monstrous fiction and poetry, edited by David Lee and Daniel Zomparelli. This is a collection of like stories and poems from from the LGBTQ plus community. And kind of like I feel like it's like the main point of this anthology is what does it mean to be and to love a monster. So yeah, I don't think that, like, I feel like I don't know if the stories themselves are going to be like spooky horror, but I'm here for the vibes, like I've said a million times so far in this episode. And Eddie Boudel Tan, who I love, I know he has a story in here, and that's why I bought this book. And also I love David Lee's poetry, so wanted to support that. And this is from Arsenal Pulp Press. So again, that is Queer Little Nightmares, edited by David Lee and Daniel Samparelli. It's short enough, so hopefully I get to it. Fingers crossed. I feel like I say that with every every book I mention. Speaking of, Motherthing by Ainslie Hogarth. I've been saving this book for spooky season. So like it's now or never for me with this one. Oh, it's Strange Light. I always thought this is Penguin. I thought it was something like or from somebody else. And what's on the back here? Is this a quote from the book? I see it now, the contours of a plan, a perfect food. I cannot read this font. Is that I can't even tell if that's an F. What a fail. Okay, well, thank God the descriptions on the very first page of this book. She's dead in the basement and she's refusing to leave. So is this like a obviously like a horror story thing? I don't know. We'll see. It sounds interesting. I bought it for the cover vibes, of course. And it felt good. It's like kind of like a very like matte, not matte, but like there's some matte covers and then like there's the nice kind of treatment, and this book has the nice treatment that I like, so that's why I bought it. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels good in my hand. And again, I heard really great things about it. So that's another book on my TBR, Motherthing, which I thought it was called Mothering for the longest time. And I think I went to Queen Books and I'm like, do you have that book, Mothering? And they looked at me like I was like, they were so lost, the poor people. And then she pulled it out. Do you mean Mother Thing? And I'm like, yes, that's the one. Oopsies. So yeah. But yeah, I felt like I could not leave it after messing up the title. Next up on my TBR is Red X by David Demchuk, which is another damn book that I've been wanting to read every spooky season since it came out, and it's just like stayed off of my TBR. Well, it's been on there and I haven't picked it up. But hopefully, this is the year, which is what I said last year. But, anyways, this is about a hunted community, a haunted author, a horror that spans centuries. So, from what I know, or from what I understand this to be, is if you were in Toronto, you definitely remember Bruce McArthur and that whole thing, someone killing an LGBTQ man, murdering gay men, and he had a gardening business, and he kind of cut them up into little pieces and stuck them on his clients' properties in pots, whatever, under the ground, in the fire pit. I don't even know. But they were everywhere, and they took a while to kind of dig through everyone's properties, which is terrible. So that was like, I feel like the recent ish kind of killing in Toronto. And this is basically, I mean, when I first read the description, I remember thinking Bruce McArthur inspired. So that stuck with me since. And that's why I bought Red X by David Demchuk. And that's why it's on my TBR. This is another Strange Light book. Interesting. I gotta look at this imprint more of Penguin, because I feel like if I love these books, then like they're my vibe, and I'm just gonna buy every book that they publish then. That's how I do things here. All right, next up is a book that Penguin sent me, and it is called And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott, which is her debut, I believe. I haven't read, what I really want to read from Alicia is her debut, like national bestseller, A Mind Spread Out on the Ground. I feel like I really like I'm in the mood for memoirs and stuff, and I think that hers would be a really great one to read, obviously, because I haven't read it and I'm dumb. Anyway, so this one, And Then She Fell, fabulous, beautiful horror spooky season cover. If you don't read this book now, you gotta wait until next year. That's my thinking behind everything. But this is a mind-bending, gripping novel about native life, motherhood, and mental health that follows a young Mohawk woman who discovers that the picture-perfect life she always hoped for may have horrifying consequences. So yeah, she looks at inherited trauma, womanhood, denial, and false allyship, which speeds to an unpredictable and surreal climax. I love that. The print size isn't too bad in this book because I pay attention to these things, because it's like, can I read this fast or will it take me a while? So yeah, it's very, it's interesting how they typeset the book. So it looks long, but I feel like it would be a quick read. So, and anyways, again, the cover, if you don't read this book now, too bad. Like, you're out. Wait until next year. So that was And Then She Fell by Alicia Elliott. And last but not least is the longest book on this TBR, but it has the biggest font, in case that matters, because it matters to me. That is Delicious Monsters by Liselle, Sambury, which I feel like I saw a book coming out by Liselle later on. I don't know if I think it's like a continuation of this, which is interesting. So this one is about Daisy who sees dead people. There's no tagline for this book. Oh well. And then oh yes, so this is the book where it's like again a haunted mansion, and it's like two storylines are happening at the same time. So something that's happening present day and something that has happened like a decade ago in this house. So I guess like these two storylines kind of converge at some point. This is YA, I believe. And what's the imprint? McElderly Books. Yeah, that's YA with Simon and Schuster. Yeah, again, this is also looks like a long book. I mean, it's almost 500 pages, but the font is big, so it shouldn't take too long to get through. Yeah, and again, Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury. Very excited. It's definitely a book that if you don't read it now, too bad, you're out of luck. Wait until next year. All right, everybody, there you have it. I hope I put some books on your TBR, or even if they're not the books that I've read, maybe you're just hearing about them for the first time and you think, yes, that is definitely a book for my TBR. That is the point of this episode. Let's build our fall. Let's add some more Canlit authors to our fall TBRs, because what I did was super embarrassing. So I'm going to just try to save you all from the same embarrassment. I'll be back for my next episode in a couple of weeks, but until then, stay spooky, I guess. Thanks for listening to the Get Canlit podcast, a show that's all about what Canadian authors you need to read next. Don't forget to rate, review, and follow on your favorite platform, and watch out for new episodes every other Tuesday. You can find me on social media at Get Canlit Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and at Get Canlit Pod on Twitter. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.